My name is Rachel. I'm 29 years old, and I work as a nursing assistant at a private clinic on the northern edge of Maplewood. For over 3 years, my routine never changed. Night shifts, home by dawn, always taking the orange line on the subway. I thought I knew every stop, every face, every corner of that commute. But what happened to me that Friday? It changed everything. That morning I left the hospital more exhausted than usual. I hadn't slept all night. There had been a tough emergency. It was nearly 8 a.m. when I walked down the steps at Grant Station. I adjusted my backpack, took a deep breath, and stepped onto the train like always, trying to stay on my feet amid the rush and shoving of the morning crowd. From the moment I boarded, something felt off. There were more people than usual, many of them staring blankly into space, others lost in their headphones, completely detached from their surroundings. The heat inside the subway car was stifling. Steam on the windows made everything feel more closed in, more suffocating. I tried to stay calm. Just another commute, or so I thought. As I held onto the pole, I felt a sudden sting in my left arm. It was so quick, I assumed someone had brushed past me with a bag or purse, but the burning started immediately. I turned my head subtly, scanning for anyone suspicious, but all the faces looked so normal, like nothing had happened. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe I imagined it. I was sleep-deprived, aching all over. I kept repeating that to calm myself, but something inside me warned, don't brush it off. If you're into stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell, because what I experienced could happen to anyone. And the worst part, it wasn't over. I got off at Magnolia Station like always. I was almost home, just 3 blocks to go. The sting in my arm was still there, but I wasn't too worried. I walked like usual, focusing on what I'd do once I got home, grab a bite, rest a bit. But the moment I turned onto my street, that's when the nightmare truly began. As I rounded the corner, something felt wrong inside me. The heat that had annoyed me earlier was gone, now replaced by a clammy, unnatural chill. My hands shook, my legs didn't feel like they belonged to me. The sting in my arm hadn't gone away, it had spread into a strange tingling that crept up to my shoulder. Still, I told myself it had to be fatigue. Maybe I hadn't eaten enough, maybe it was low blood pressure, but every step felt heavier. The ground seemed to shift beneath my feet, the sidewalk pulling away like my legs couldn't support me anymore. Then, just half a block from my house, a white car slowed down beside me. The windows were tinted, no license plate. At first, I didn't panic. I thought maybe they were just lost, maybe picking someone up. But when the window rolled down and a man spoke to me, a chill ran through my spine. "You don't look well, hop in, I'll take you home," he said in a calm, almost caring tone. I wanted to respond, to say no, I was close, but I couldn't. My mouth wouldn't work. No words came out, and that's when I realized I couldn't speak. He opened the car door, stepped out, and approached me. He took my arm, not violently, but with a confidence that told me this wasn't the first time he'd done something like this, like he knew I wouldn't have the strength to resist. My knees buckled, the world spun around me, and then, just when I thought all hope was gone, I heard a familiar voice. "Rachel!" my mom shouted from the front porch. She was with my stepdad, both of them terrified. The man let go of me instantly. He didn't argue, he didn't say a word. He just sprinted back to the car, jumped in, and sped off down the street. My parents reached me just as I collapsed on the sidewalk. I couldn't make sense of anything. My thoughts were scattered. I barely remember them grabbing me and helping me inside. They laid me on the couch. My stomach churned. My body felt like it was sinking into the cushions. All I wanted was to close my eyes and make everything stop. Mom dabbed my forehead with a cold rag, while my stepdad kept asking over and over if I had taken anything. I could only shake my head. I hadn't taken a thing. No one had stolen from me. No one had touched me, except that man. But something was inside me. I could feel it, like something foreign had been left under my skin. That was the last thing I saw before blacking out completely. I woke up with my throat dry, unsure of the time. The ceiling fan spun slowly above me, and I could hear midday sounds coming from outside. I felt drained, like all my energy had been sucked out. My mom sat in a chair facing me, her face lined with worry. She asked how I felt, but I couldn't answer. I could barely form full sentences. I just mumbled that my arm hurt. Then I looked at it. On the outer part of my left bicep, right where I had felt that sting on the subway, was a round mark. It wasn't just a bruise. It was a clean, circular shape with a darker center, like something had punctured me and left a burn. I touched it gently and felt a small lump beneath the skin. My mom saw it and gasped, covering her mouth. She didn't say anything, but her eyes said enough. I didn't want to wait. I begged her to take me to the neighborhood clinic. The doctor examined me calmly. He listened to what little I could tell him, but when he saw the mark, he just said it was likely an allergic reaction to a bug bite. He prescribed ointment and antihistamines. I didn't tell him more. I didn't know how to explain without sounding paranoid. We went back home. I felt slightly better physically, but my mind kept spinning with one thought. That man wasn't there by chance. He saw me on the subway. He marked me somehow. He followed me. He waited on my street. And if my parents hadn't come out, what would have happened? I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, the scene played again. The white car, his calm voice, the feeling of not being in control of my own body. I got up and went to the bathroom. I splashed cold water on my face, staring at the mirror, like I was searching for proof that it had all been real. I didn't eat dinner. I went to bed early, but I couldn't sleep. The sting in my arm still burned. I grabbed my phone out of habit just to distract myself. I scrolled through old messages, social media, anything to take my mind off what had happened. And just as I was about to put the phone down, a message popped up from an unknown number. It simply said, "You almost belong to me." I froze. My heart skipped a beat. It took me a few seconds to react. Who was it? How did they get my number? Was this some kind of game? I considered showing my parents the message, but I didn't want to worry them even more. I turned the phone off and set it face down on the nightstand. But just as I was settling back under the blanket, another message came through. "We're still watching you." And that was the first night in a long time I slept with the lights on. I barely slept. Every time I shut my eyes, it felt like falling into a film I couldn't pause. I saw shadows watching me from endless hallways, heard whispers calling my name, like someone was waiting for me to give in to that space between sleep and waking. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, my heart racing, my arm throbbing, like my skin still remembered what had happened. The next morning, the pain hadn't gone away. It pulsed steadily. I got up and went straight to the bathroom mirror. I rolled up my sleeve, scared of what I'd see. The mark was still there. It hadn't faded like a normal bruise. Now it looked even sharper, redder around the edges, with a slight swelling in the center. It felt like something was still inside me. I didn't tell my parents anything. My mom stayed worried, offering me oatmeal and tea, urging me to stay home and rest. I nodded along, but in my head, I kept repeating the same thing. This wasn't an allergic reaction. Someone injected me with something. I didn't know what to do. Going to the police felt pointless. What would I say? That a stranger poked me on the subway, followed me in a car, and now sent me anonymous messages. No one would believe me. I felt ashamed, afraid, and trapped inside my own house, peeking through the window every 10 minutes, praying that white car wouldn't come back. That afternoon, I tried to distract myself with TV, but nothing held my attention. Everything seemed hollow, meaningless. I locked myself in my room with the curtains drawn and checked my phone. No new messages. The last notification still glowed on the screen. "We're still watching you." No name, no profile picture, just a random number. I blocked it, even though deep down I knew if they wanted to reach me again, they would. Later, I lay down on my bed. My body felt heavy, craving sleep. I closed my eyes and drifted off into a deep, thick dream. But this time, it was different. I saw the subway car, empty, silent. I was alone, and someone was staring at me from the far end. I couldn't see his face, but I knew it was him. His shape was blurred, like my eyes couldn't focus, but I could feel him. And he was laughing. I woke up gasping, heart pounding. I sat upright, drenched in sweat, convinced something had just brushed against the back of my neck. That night, I slept only in fragments, with the lamp on and the door locked. I didn't want to dream. I didn't want to feel that powerless again. But the worst part was knowing deep down, this was just beginning. The next morning, I woke up later than usual. The clock showed almost 11. My mom had gone to the market, and my stepdad was in the backyard workshop he had built. The house was quiet, but the kind of quiet that doesn't soothe. It felt like the air was holding its breath, waiting for something to snap. I got up slowly and went straight to my phone. As soon as I turned it on, a new message appeared. My hands shook as I unlocked the screen. It wasn't from a saved contact. Again, just an anonymous number. "Did you sleep well, Rachel?" My heart stopped for a second. No one outside my family called me that. No one should have my number. No one else knew what I'd been through. I stared at the screen, hoping it was some twisted prank. But it wasn't. I knew it wasn't. A cold sweat ran down my back. I closed all my apps and powered the phone off. I couldn't bring myself to respond. I didn't want them to know I was reading. I went to the kitchen and poured a glass of water, but I couldn't swallow. My stomach was clenched tight. I thought about telling my parents, but I didn't want to add to their fear. I had seen how on edge they'd been since that night, sleeping lightly, always checking outside. I didn't want them to feel the panic I had inside, so I decided to ignore it. I kept telling myself it was a prankster, someone who had stumbled across my number in a group or some online list. I forced myself to believe it, but deep down, I knew better. I tried to distract myself with little things, cleaned my room, watered the window plants, played soft music, anything to drown out the voice that haunted me since I woke up. But it was no use. Every shadow moving down the street made me jump. Every slow-passing car made me peek. That night, we ate dinner in silence again. My parents could see I wasn't okay, but they didn't push. Afterward, I locked myself in my room, put on headphones and tried to watch some show on my phone. But I couldn't follow the plot. My mind couldn't disconnect. At exactly 11, another message. No text this time, just a photo of my street. I recognized the corner, the lamppost, even the edge of our fence. The picture had been taken from a car. I shot up from bed and crept to the living room window. Nothing outside. I went back to my room and locked the door. I turned off the phone. I no longer knew if I was being stalked, surveilled, or both. I sat on the edge of the bed with a tightness in my throat. I didn't cry. I just sat in silence with one terrifying realization. He knew exactly where I lived. 2 days went by. I didn't respond to any messages. I didn't turn the phone back on, and I asked my mom not to either. My parents started taking shifts, so one of them was always home. We tried to keep a facade of normal life, morning coffee, lunch together, casual conversation. But it was all an act. The air in our house had grown thick. By Tuesday evening, around 6, my mom asked me to go to the store for tortillas. I hesitated, but she insisted it was just around the corner. It wouldn't take 5 minutes. I nodded, more to avoid arguing than because I felt safe. I threw on a hoodie and stepped out, walking quickly. The moment I turned the corner, I saw it. The same white vehicle, parked in the same spot as before. Same tinted windows, still no plates. My body froze. I wanted to run back, but I knew if he saw me panic, he'd have the upper hand, so I kept my eyes down and walked like I hadn't noticed. As I neared the store, I glanced sideways. Someone was in the car. I couldn't make out the face, but I felt his eyes. It was like he knew me, even under the hood. I stepped into the store but didn't buy anything. I just pretended to browse, then slipped out the back door onto a different street. I ran, hard, like I hadn't run since I was a kid. I got home panting, legs trembling. My mom asked what was wrong, but I couldn't speak. I pointed toward the street, gasping that he was out there again. My stepdad didn't hesitate. He grabbed a long wooden stick from the patio and bolted outside. I heard his footsteps, his angry yell, but when he reached the sidewalk, the car was gone. That night, we didn't eat. We shoved a heavy cabinet against the front door, locked every window. My stepdad charged his old phone with a flashlight just in case. I lay down fully clothed. I couldn't sleep. Every tiny noise jolted me. At 3 a.m. we heard footsteps on the sidewalk. Slowly, a shadow moved past our house. No running, no talking, just walking. And when it reached our front gate, it stopped. My mom peeked from her room. No one moved. The seconds stretched forever. Finally, the shadow walked away and vanished into the night. We didn't dare look out. We didn't say a word. But we knew he had come back. And this time, he wasn't watching from afar. He was closer. After that night, we barely slept. My parents didn't leave me alone, not even to go to the bathroom. We lived like we were under siege, without ever saying it. Even the neighbor's dog barked more than usual. Every shadow behind the curtain became a threat. Every creak of the gate meant danger. 2 quiet days passed. I didn't go out. My mum avoided mentioning it, but we all knew. Silence wasn't peace. It was warning. And in the early hours of Wednesday, everything shifted again, exactly 3:17 a.m. I remember because I looked at the digital clock on my nightstand after a loud, sharp sound woke me. At first, I thought it was just a dream, but then 3 knocks, loud, firm, deliberate, 3 times, like someone wasn't just announcing themselves. They were claiming space. My mom yelled my name from her room. My stepdad was already up, gripping the wooden stick. I got up barefoot, moving silently to the hallway. No one spoke, just the sound of our breathing, fast, scared. We looked at each other briefly. No one approached the door. The knocks didn't come again. No words, just that. 3 solid hits and then silence. A silence thicker than I've ever felt. My stepdad tried to peek through the side window, barely lifting the curtain. He saw nothing. The street was empty. No cars, no people, not even the usual sounds of the lights buzzing or wind blowing. It was like the world had paused for that moment. We chose not to open. We called the local patrol using our backup phone. They took nearly 25 minutes to arrive. 2 officers stepped out and walked to our door. We explained what had happened. They scanned the street with their flashlights and spoke into their radios. No footprints, no forced entry. Nothing. One of them said in a tired voice, "Maybe it was a drunk guy. Happens sometimes," but his face betrayed him. He didn't believe it. I saw it. He knew something else was going on, but didn't want to say it. That night, none of us slept. I sat in the living room, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the door. My mom dragged a chair in front of it. My stepdad left a light on in every room. We didn't talk, we didn't cry, we just waited, because we all understood, without saying a word, it wasn't just about watching anymore. It was a warning. And deep down, I knew we were one decision away from vanishing. As if something or someone was waiting for the exact right moment to act. The next morning was slow. We were exhausted, but our bodies refused to rest. No one dared leave the house. My mom made coffee with no sugar and barely touched it. My stepdad skipped the workshop. I sat in front of the TV just for the noise, like that could scare the fear away. Around 9 a.m., a local news report made me sit upright. A reporter stood in front of a subway station, Westvale, talking about recent cases of women who reported suspicious pricks during morning commutes. The screen showed red dots, stations like Ash Grove, Willow Heights, and Lake Hill. One interviewee described how she felt a sting while riding and then grew dizzy. Another said a man waited outside after her ride, making excuses to walk with her. Their stories were almost identical to mine. I froze watching the screen. Part of me felt relieved. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't alone. But another part knew that made it worse, because if there were more of us, it meant this was organized, bigger, not random, a pattern. I called my mum from the living room. I showed her the report. She sat beside me and squeezed my hand. We both knew what had happened to me wasn't a coincidence. She turned on her phone and started searching social media. It didn't take long to find posts from other women sharing similar experiences. Some even showed marks like mine. But the most chilling thing was a comment thread on a local forum. An anonymous post read, "The stings aren't for drugs, they're to mark. It's how they choose." I read it 3 times. My stomach dropped. I imagined myself as part of a list, a number, someone marked for something I still couldn't understand. I thought about filing a report, but what proof did I have? A bruise. A couple of messages from deleted numbers. A car I never photographed. The police had already come once and did nothing. And even if I reported it, would they protect me? Or would I just become even more exposed? That day, I made a decision. I would never get on the subway again, ever. I called work and told them I needed a leave of absence. I lost my income, yes, but at least I could sleep, even if it was with a lamp on. Even if I still felt like something, or someone, was watching me from some unseen corner of the city. And the most terrifying part was realizing something that shook me to the core. That van might not have been alone. After that day, everything changed. I got a new number, deleted every social media account, stopped using my old phone. I didn't answer unknown calls. I never opened messages from people I didn't recognize. My parents installed new bars on the windows and added a second lock to the door. Every night before bed, we inspected the house like we were soldiers in a routine drill. We were living in defense mode. I never went out alone again. If we needed anything, we left the house together. I stopped wearing the same clothes. I avoided showing my face on the street and lowered my head every time a car slowed down near me. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was survival. The mark on my arm took weeks to fade. First it darkened, then slowly lightened, but the skin in that spot stayed tender, like there was still something hidden beneath it. Every time I showered, I touched it gently, half expecting something foreign to push its way out. But the pain wasn't physical. It was what I couldn't see, the thing that hovered over me day and night. One night, while lying in bed, I heard a notification. I turned on the new phone just to check a message from a friend from work, but what popped up wasn't from her. It was an unknown number. The message said, "Do you feel safe in your home?" I turned the phone off immediately, threw it on the floor, ran to the living room and broke down crying, for the first time since this all began. It wasn't just fear anymore, it was desperation. My stepdad spoke to a police friend. He told us there had been reports, but no official investigation. "Those kinds of things don't leave clear evidence," he said, "and if the victim survives, most won't talk." That's when I finally understood something that tore me apart. This wasn't going to stop. One morning, I looked out the window and saw a red car parked outside the house. It wasn't the white one, but inside was a man wearing a cap, just like the other. He didn't get out, just stayed there for 5 minutes, then drove away. But that was enough to know they were still watching us, still keeping us on their radar. Since then, I do everything cautiously. I don't use public transportation. I only go out accompanied. If a car parks too close, I cross the street. Sometimes it feels like I'm not running from one man anymore, but from a network, something broader, more coordinated, more silent. There isn't a single day I don't check the window, not one night that I don't double, sometimes triple, check the lock. Because once they mark you, something inside you breaks for good. Today, as I write this, It's been over 5 months since that morning when it all began. I still live with my parents in the same house, though we've started talking about moving. The routine was never the same again. I'm no longer the Rachel who used to leave home confident, who rode the subway without fear, who thought these things happened to other people. Not anymore. Now, before I step outside, I scan the street. Before I reply to a message, I research the number. Before crossing a corner, I study every parked vehicle. I've become someone who trusts no one, not even the calm warmth of a sunny day. And if you're listening to this, there's something I wish someone had told me. If you ever feel a sting while riding public transit, don't ignore it. Don't assume it's nothing. Don't convince yourself you're overreacting. It's not paranoia, it's self-protection. Get off that train. Find an officer. Call someone. Go home. Stay near someone you trust. Do anything, but don't act like nothing happened. That's how it begins, with something small, a little prick, a blank face on the train, a car that blends in. Maybe your body won't react like mine. Maybe you won't notice until it's too late. But if there's even a shred of doubt, do something, because if you don't, no one else will. I was lucky, or at least that's what I choose to believe. I don't know if the man who marked me got scared off by my parents, if he confused me with someone else, or if he simply moved on to a different target. But I came within seconds of disappearing, of becoming just another statistic, another story that might never have been told. Sometimes I dream he takes me, that I wake up somewhere with no windows, that I can't scream, that no one is looking for me. And when I open my eyes, I'm grateful I'm still here, grateful I get to tell this. Today I decided to speak up because I realized silence also makes you a victim. I don't know if this will reach those who marked me. I don't know if they're still watching. But if this story helps even one person stay safe, then it was worth it. And to you, listening on the other side, I'll leave you with one question. Are you sure no one is watching you right now?